So maybe I'll cry, 'cause tears are a river that take you someplace.
90.7 WNCU member-supported radio. And that was taken from the album I Love Myself When I'm Laughing. The song you heard was Tone's Tears Are a River That Take You Someplace. A musician in the broadest and most complete definition of the word, with an expansive vision that subsumes category. The breadth of her expression is staggering. Her technical prowess is phenomenal, superb, creative, arranging skills, thoughtful composer. She has plenty in her arsenal of talents. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you, for me, I know her as Miss Lenora Zenzalai Helm, and now she's Miss Lenora Zenzalai Helm Hammonds. Welcome to Jazz Stage and WNCU Cares.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for
you.
having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for being here and taking on the opportunity, during this situation in the world. Hopefully we're bringing some light to someone today. And,
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so. So tell us about this song we just heard, Tears of a River That Take You Someplace.
Well, Tears Are a River, actually that's one of my favorite songs on that album. It's an original composition, and it was, the title is inspired from a line in Their Eyes Were Watching God, Zora Neale Hurston. I am usually really inspired by the books I read in some ways for the title that I end up coming with for the song. And in that book, and she talks about all of the despair, that the folks were going through, Janie Crawford and the protagonist in the story. And it's, when you think about crying, some people don't want to see or miss the idea that their tears are instructive and their tears are useful. We sometimes socialize and teach our young men not to cry, and they need to cry.
Release is a place where we need to be, especially during now. A lot of people are holding in a lot of things. I've seen a lot of stuff in the media, and why not release that?
Yeah, because if you don't, it implodes.
Oh my goodness.
It implodes. So yeah, that piece, but maybe I'll cry, but tears are a river that take you someplace. Maybe I'll cry, so tears, and and just keep reminding myself and the listener that you need those tears, so go ahead and let it out.
Let it out. And you're letting it out through the music, and so that's what's even better. You're a musician that has had a long, lengthy career. Can you kind of give us maybe a short snippet of like
quick,
if we could wrap it up in
quick bio,
quick,
like who I am in 10 seconds.
Just 10 seconds.
Chi-Town, Chicago, born and raised, South Side, Chicago, Robert Taylor Projects. So there's a whole lot right there.
See, I don't know anything about Chicago other than they have some good food.
Food. We have good food. We got people. A lot of people migrated from down south up to Chicago. And so I have family that from Alabama, and on my father's side, Alabama and Baton Rouge. My grandmother was Creole.
You brought that accent out, didn't you?
But, she was a mean whippersnapper.
Oh.
And so my mom's side of the family all born and bred Chicago. So, Chicago has a real nice mix of music. And all of that went with me to college at Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Berklee.
So I finished there in 3 years with a film scoring degree. And the first black vocalist to do that.
Congratulations.
So, that was a trumping through Boston in the late 70s.
Yeah.
That was its own little lesson. You needed tears then, too, right? So, stayed in Boston a little while and went to New York and stayed there 20 years. And did all the things you have to do as a musician going to New York. Played every little club, every little restaurant. Sometimes you're playing to the tables and the knives and forks.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand that.
Oh, yeah. And so,
here in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. You do it everywhere, but you cut your teeth like that. And you learn, it teaches you humility, but it helps you learn how and why. All of the elders did it, So it's the same.
Paying dues.
it's good. It's paying dues, paying those dues. Yes, Lord, paying those dues. And so a invitation from Tim Holley for me to perform.
Dr. Holley here
Dr. Timothy
the
Holley,
Midday Jazz
the
Adjustment.
Midday Jazz Adjustment. His invitation at that time he was with the Lyceum Committee.
Okay.
And they brought me for a concert and a workshop.
I remember that day. I remember you asking, you were driving a van. I guess you were going to have a concert that night or maybe that week. But I remember meeting you that day.
No kidding.
And you asked for directions to the music building.
No
and
kidding.
I said, okay, great. And came to your show. You were singing Round Midnight.
No kidding.
Oh, man. And it sounded great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wow, that's a good memory. Because that was 2004.
Way back when.
Way back when. And Dr. Wiggins happened to be director of Jazz Studies, happened to be at the concert and the workshop that I did for the students.
So that was your audition?
I guess that was my audition. So when I went back to New York, he asked if I'd be interested to come and help develop the vocal program, the vocal component of the Jazz Studies program that he does a great job with. And so I was like, no, I'm not leaving New York. I spent all my life trying to get to New York, So one of my friends said to me, call him back and ask, can you go part-time? And he said, when I called him back, I was so afraid he would say no, that I had blown my opportunity. And he said, yeah, I think we can make that work.
I think his voice is a little deeper and a little softer.
Right? It just
I
endears
love you.
I know, I love him too. Endears you to him even more.
Yeah.
And so that was like the genesis of me being in North Carolina. That's how I got to. So I'm going into my 15th year teaching in the NCCU Jazz Studies program.
You were there when I was in undergrad and grad, and so you brought a breath of fresh air to the program.
Thank you.
We definitely will hear some music that you've directed the jazz ensemble, vocal jazz ensemble.
Thank
so we'll
you.
hear some of that music soon. But I'm excited to hear more of you. I want to play the next song that's actually from the same CD, same album. It's Tears. I'm saying tears. It's from I Love Myself When I'm Laughing. And can you tell me why you named your album that?
Because I love Zora Neale Hurston. So this album really was a tribute to writers.
Okay.
And the liner notes were by a best friend and writer, Lana Garland, and she talks about all of the inspirations in each song that come from different writers. And so there was I think Van Vechten was the Harlem Renaissance photographer who had a collection of photos that he had taken of Zora Neale Hurston. And he sent her the photos, and in a note, she sent him back a reply that said, because he wanted to know how she liked the pictures, what was her opinion of his photos. And she said, I love myself when I'm laughing, comma, and then again when I'm looking mean and impressive. And you see the different pictures that came from that time. And I thought, wow, that's very interesting.
Dynamic.
Yeah.
Wow. well, thank you so much for keeping the light, being a beacon, and keeping his story or her story alive.
Thank you.
Well, this next song is Skies of Bud. Well, maybe you could tell me about it. Blue Skies, Suddenly, In Walked Bud is it's a medley,
right,
if you will.
So Thelonious Monk and John Hendricks meet. So suddenly are words that John Hendricks wrote, and I wrote words to connect that in Monk's tune, In Walked, Bud Powell's tune, In Walked Bud, about Monk. And then the I forget now the order that the tunes come. Okay. But it's really about an homage to Bud Powell and Thelonious Monk and John Hendricks.
Sounds good. Well, let's listen to this song. The next song you hear, ladies and gentlemen, is Skies of Bud, right here at Member-Supported Radio 90.7 WNCU.
Monk came down to the club to listen to Powell play. I'm talking about Bud. Marvel at what Bud played, but that was common back in those days. Everything he heard blew Monk away. Bud was cooking as the band played, but inspired Monk to write a song, and what Bud finally was born. Hendrix picked up his pen. This ditty began with Irving Berlin. Dizzy, he was screaming next to O.P., who was beaming. Monk was thumping, suddenly in walked Bud, and then they got into something. Bias played a mean sax, Mr. Max Roach beat a mean axe. Monk was thumping, suddenly in walked Bud, and then the joint started jumping. Every hip stud really dug Bud soon as he hit town. Taking that note, nobody opening him down. O.P. pulled a mean string down, and Dizzy played a hip thing. Monk was thumping, suddenly in walked Bud, and then the joint started jumping. Dizzy, he was screaming next to O.P., who was beaming. Monk was thumping, suddenly in walked Bud, and then they got into something. Bias played a mean sax, Mr. Max Roach beat a mean axe. Monk was thumping, suddenly in walked Bud, and then the joint started jumping. Every hip stud really dug Bud soon as he hit town. Taking that note, no matter of putting him down. O.P. played a mean string down, and Dizzy played a hip thing. Monk was thumping, suddenly in walked Bud, and then the joint started jumping.
90.7 WNCU, member-supported radio, and you're listening to the sounds of Lenora Helm, and she just sang to you on Skies of Bud, Blue Skies, suddenly in walked Bud, and she actually wrote the words to the first part of the verse, and you said it was
Blue Skies.
Blue Skies.
Irving Berlin's Blue Skies.
And then John Hendricks took over. Well, you
John
sang
Hendricks lyrics, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the Bible of vocal jazz lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for a lot of the material that would have only been for instrumental music, he put lyrics to a lot of instrumental jazz standards to enable the vocalist to be part of the history. Mm-hmm. We have a huge debt we owe to John Hendricks.
Well, you know, I definitely am doing my homework on this end, and maybe not to John Hendricks, but other artists. Like right now, I'm doing a lot of transcribing a lot of bird heads, just keeping the jazz tradition alive. And yes. I see that you're doing that too with your lengthy resume. Let's see here. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. Just the currently 2018 inaugural Javid International Scholar in Jazz for University of Pretoria. Tell me about that.
Wow. Well, it was quite a surprise to get that award. What did
you have to do to get that award?
They looked at your work over several decades to see who would be someone who made a contribution to jazz, and they were interested in it being someone who had an international presence. I had worked with that university doing global classrooms courses with them, and I had gone there several years ago on a Fulbright and as a U.S. Jazz Ambassador to South Africa and many other countries in the southeast of the continent. So, I always tell my students, you never know who's watching you, right? There's always someone watching you who could bless you.
Or listening to you.
Or listening to you. So I was really, really grateful for that recognition. And so I had a residency at University of Pretoria. They have a wonderful jazz program by Dr. And the director of jazz studies there is a guitarist and composer Dr. Mageshin Naidu. And he informed me that I would be their inaugural resident scholar, and I was like blown away. So I had to go there for 6 weeks. And I taught combos, I taught master classes, I did concerts, public and private concerts. It was a great honor.
Do you have a set curriculum that you teach across the board, whether internationally or, I guess, nationally?
Well, the nature of jazz is that it can't be set. I teach the tradition. So, swing and the blues. And so I make sure whether it's a singer or an instrumentalist, what is your source of the blues knowledge you have? Have you listened to Big Mama Thornton? Have you listened to Jimmy Rushin? Who are you listening to? I start there, we listen together, and then we take it from there. And what I've found is that a lot of universities around the world really have different ways they approach teaching jazz. But I always go there so that I try not to step on anyone's toes in another country or in another program, and just try to add something of what's missing or add on to what they're doing. And it's been really gratifying because I get emails from students everywhere.
Yes.
And that's, but you got to keep the tradition going.
You do.
Yeah.
Which is best, learning from the book or learning from the recording?
Okay, so, the recordings give you the actual information, right? The book can be instructive for people who need a book. And the book can be a framework to work from. Every student of the music, and we're all students of the music no matter where we are in the continuum,
For
right?
sure.
If you listen to elders, they'll tell you, man, I was just shedding. I remember I was in Denmark, Copenhagen. This was the early 90s, and I called up Ed Thigpen, who was, he's an American jazz drummer, Ella Fitzgerald, Oscar Peterson's drummer, but living in Denmark. Married a Danish woman and had children there. And so I was doing some concerts there, and I called him up that morning so we could have lunch later. And I said, did I wake you up? He says, oh, no, it was like 10 a.m. He says, are you kidding? I've already been jogging 5 miles. I've been practicing a couple of hours. I was like, man, they don't play.
They don't play.
And so I think that if you call yourself really trying to guide someone, because you don't teach anybody, right? Everyone teaches themselves, right? You can guide people to what the information should be, but those records are crucial. If you are really just going by what your teacher gives you or what's in a book, you don't have the information. You don't have the information.
Yeah, you have to get in and dig into the music. I'm holding my hand like I'm holding a saxophone, but this.
Yeah.
Oh, man, this is great. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series with Lenora Zenzalai Helm Hammonds in the studio, and she's sharing her stories, her intimate stories about her musical life and her journey through this whole musical construct. We're going to listen to another one of your songs, the next song from the same album, I Love Myself When I'm Laughing, it is available on your website, or is it available Spotify? I know on Spotify.
Everywhere you can get music. So no, it's it's on CD Baby and now CD Baby changed. So Spotify and all that stuff. But you can go to my website on my Shopify page, Zenzalai Music, ZENZALAI music.com, and get all my music.
Sounds great.
Thank you. for asking.
Thank you. Of course. Next song is I Didn't Know About You. Now, can you set us up with this song?
So Duke Ellington, I try to put a Duke Ellington piece on every recording because I think he is one of the most important composers, over 4,000 compositions in the Library of Congress with his, as him as the author. 4,000.
4,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the kind of prolific, you wanna be that busy.
Yes.
And so every record I do has a Duke Ellington recording on it. And this particular piece is just so beautiful. I learned it on an Ella Fitzgerald record and then start digging, So on this, if this is the recording, because sometimes I re-record songs with a different ensemble. But this has Ryan Hansler on piano.
Another colleague of mine.
Another NCCU Jazz Studies grad.
Yes.
I do believe in working with the next generation that's coming. I really do believe in trying to open a door, be the hand on a doorknob for the next generation. And I think we had just come back we were touring in Fiji. And so Ryan Hansler is the pianist on here, and Lance Scott Jr. Lance E. Scott Jr.
You better put that E in there. And now it's Larry Q Drawn.
Q Drawn.
Sounds
Larry
good.
Q Drawn.
All
drums.
my friends. Sounds good. Well, let's listen to I Didn't Know About You and get right to the music. You're listening to member-supported radio, 90.7 WNCU.
I ran around with my own little crowd, the usual laughs, not often but loud, and in the world that I knew, I didn't know about you. Chasing after the ring on the merry-go-round, just having my fun where it could be found. And yet what else could I do? I didn't know about you. Darling, now I know I had the loneliest yesterday. Every day in your arms, I know for once in my life I'm living. Had a good time every time I went out. Romance was a thing I kidded about. How could I know about love? I didn't know about you. time I went out, romance was a thing I kidded about. How could I know about love? I didn't know about you. How could I know about love? I didn't know about you.
Duke Ellington's I Didn't Know About You, played and sung by Lenora Helm Hammonds. So tell us about this song. Every song has a story, so.
Well, I love the lyric to this piece. It kept reminding me about the situation you might find yourself in when someone doesn't understand you or get you, or you've kind of overlooked a situation. You may have you meet that friend and then you kind of don't even really look at them as a possible love interest, and then
Right.
You're like, oh yeah, you. Or in the case of this lyric, more specifically, it's like, hey, I was hanging out, I was enjoying my life, minding my business, and then here come you. I didn't know about you. What? Who you? What? What you talking about?
Right.
And that was very much the experience when I met my husband.
Okay.
Because we were polar opposites,
Really?
but have an incredible symbiotic, love and connection. And, it was one of the things I was like, I finally get the lyric to this song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Years later.
I was doing my thing.
Because you wrote this in...
I recorded that in 2011.
Wow. And then you met...
I met him in 2008.
Okay. Oh.
And so, it just like by the time whenever I'm picking music for an album, I'm always thinking about, do I really believe this lyric? Do I understand it? And where is the context for understanding it? And then I could sing it. And I said, okay. And then it also, just that aspect of like, you can be around people and not really know them,
Oh, yes.
You just kind of miss them altogether. Or you have an idea of somebody.
Not on your radar.
They're not on your radar, or they don't get you in a way. Like as an artist, one of the things that we have to contend with is people misunderstanding what your music is about or where it comes from. Like you're always in that, I don't like to explain myself about my musical choices, but that was the immature me. I realize as a mature artist, that's your responsibility.
Yes. Yes.
To help people understand and come and be part of that process. As artists, we have our work is it's a megaphone for what we believe, right? And so I believe jazz is a healing agent. Jazz is used globally in so many different ways, but it's sticky the way it is, and has imbued so many different cultures, right? From the diaspora, all of the elements of what we have in music of the diaspora. Not everyone gets the way you might express it, so it's important to leave yourself open and think about that process, And so it brings me to, this song also brings me to, you're not supposed to listen to your critics or read, reviews. But there was one critic who wrote a review of my work. His name is Lloyd Sachs.
Okay.
Writes for the Chicago Sun-Times. And he said that my sound was like, I paid homage to, and I'm paraphrasing, I paid homage to, and it showed I had a love of pop and soul, which I do.
Okay.
So I have a light against dark phrasing, so sometimes I'll use a very light part of my voice, and then sometimes I'll use a very dark and resonant part of my voice, because we are, both sides.
We are.
Right? I don't have to pick one sound.
Right.
Right. But then, and he continued and said, without giving up her debt to the most stringent jazz grammar. And that's true. Because for me, I'm a jazz musician.
Yes.
There's some people who say, oh, I don't want to be categorized, and, I don't want to cuss, but whatever. I'm proud to say I'm a jazz musician. Some people don't like the word jazz. Okay, we can argue that too, but these are my roots. This is my home base. And so, but I also grew up, when you grew up on the south side of Chicago, listen to WVON radio, where all good music was there. They didn't separate it in categories and have these stations called the Elvis station and the Prince station, and the this and the that. It's like all good music, And it also reminds me of the time in New York I spent, where you could listen to WBLS and you could hear that morning show. I'm forgetting the on-air jockey's name, Elder, and but taught us that all music is good music,
Yes.
And so I was appreciative that he got where I was coming from. And that's how I sing my music. Because some people who know that I've studied classical music, I only studied classical music for a minute.
Just a minute.
But that
okay.
pop and soul thing, I grew up listening to
that was in
Gladys
you.
Knight,
Yes.
Dorothy Moore, all the music of the 70s. That was my time. Earth, Wind and Fire, James Brown, all that stuff. Aretha Franklin, Gladys Knight,
Wow.
that was like, but I also listened to Joni Mitchell and Carly Simon. And, so before I only studied in my classical music in my adult life for a couple of years.
Okay.
So
I hear that in throughout your music. Well, some of your music, especially the music we're going to play in a few moments. So, but continue.
No, so that's where it comes from. It comes from not so much a classical background, because I don't have a classical background. I have a background in pop, soul, and R&B.
And classical, traditional jazz, American classical music.
Exactly.
Sounds good. Well,
exactly.
This next song, since you had a minute of classical training, somnambulism. Tell me about this. This is.
I know we've been having a good time with that word,
this
somnambulism,
word,
right?
Thank you.
So this is from Chronicles of a Butterfly. It's so odd that you chose that song.
I like it.
Well,
it's something. It takes me to. You tell me what it. I like
tell
it.
me what you think of it.
I just feel like I'm in a dream when I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
Just the way that, maybe the reverb, I don't know, the airiness of it, the spacey, just the spaciness of it all. But tell me about it.
Yeah. No, that was exactly the intent. I'm so happy that came across for you. Somnambulism is like dreaming, dream state, sleepwalking, really. It's when people sleepwalk, and we sleepwalk through a lot of our lives. And so this record was a pivotal point for me. This record I did at a point when I was leaving New York, and leaving New York for reasons good and bad. I was coming to North Carolina, but I was leaving a lot of important things that I had worked on for 20 years.
20 years.
So
in New
leaving
York,
that
the
kind
big
of
city.
leaving a lot of things. And so some of that departure, I reflected. It was like, you were sleepwalking through that one, old girl. You weren't awake.
And this is Do You Sleepwalk Through Love?
Right.
So you loved 20 years of your life you spent in New York, and then you had to, you chose to come to North Carolina Central University, North Carolina, and you started this another 20 years and maybe 50 years. I don't know. Are you going to stay in North Carolina?
My husband's here, so yeah, girl.
Okay.
I'm staying here.
You better stay here. Well, let's listen to Somnambulism.
And so if Branford is listening, so Branford produced this record, Branford Marsalis.
Yes.
And we recorded it live with Mulgrew Miller, Neil Kane, no drums on the record, and Doug Womble.
Maybe that's
on
why
guitar.
it gives me a place of dreaminess.
Yeah. And so one of the things that was really funny, because when I called the tune, he says, "What's next?" I said, "Somnambulism" or something. And he was like, "What?" I was like, "Somnambulism." He's like, "It's somnambulism." you know how he can get.
Oh, yes. Studied with him for a couple of lessons. But let's listen to this Somnambulism.
Yes.
I said it right, finally. You're listening to WNCU Cares Artist Series, having fun with Miss Lenora Helm Hammonds in this. Oh, I have to say Zenzalai, but we'll get into that in a few moments.
Yeah, I can explain that later.
Thank you so much. All right, let's go for it. Here we are.
streets of your mind, never knowing what you may find, 'cause you don't know why you are there. But when you come to know the reason why, it seems the fear on your face can tell the whole story. Sleepwalking is a dangerous thing. You don't know whatever impairs your vision, impairs your mobility. Sleepwalking is a dangerous thing. Sleepwalking is a dangerous thing.
90.7 WNCU, where you just heard Somnambulism. Now I heard some opera. Tell me about that. I've been trying to get to that. I've been trying.
Well, you know, I guess if you study voice, you're supposed to study everything that's possible for that instrument. And being in academia, yeah, you have to teach the students how to play, you know, be a well-rounded musician. And there are benefits in learning how to do the classical repertoire. So there it is. But
There it is.
I kept having people, students would come to me when I was living in New York, and my private students would say, who would be from pop, theater, or classical music and want to sing jazz.
Okay.
And I didn't know what was the difference in the training because I had never trained classically. So I started working with a classical voice teacher at the tail end of when I lived in Boston and moved to New York, because I would take the train from Boston to New York to study with my teacher. And then I moved to New York and was able to study
How
with him
often
for
did you
several
do
years.
that? I'm sorry.
Every week.
Every week? Once a week?
Once a week.
Wow.
Yeah, commitment.
How far is that from?
4-hour train ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
So time to do your homework.
It's that time to do my homework. But, you know, Kamal Kenneth Scott, beautiful. He was the Wiz on the Broadway production of the Wiz, and just taught me how to use my instrument, you know. And so that's what I teach my students, that, you know, to get away from that whole mentality that classical music is the centrifugal force of the musical universe. It is not. You don't need
You're stepping
classical
on toes.
music. Well, whatever. I've earned the right. I've been around almost 6 decades, so I'm
love
saying
it.
it just like it is.
Thank
but,
you.
You know, you could teach voice function without having to be married to the classical music repertoire. But you learn how to do both, because you can't say that that's not good or not useful unless you know how it works. So I learned how that works so that I could help my students mentally and physically and structurally get through and understand how your voice functions in both.
Is there any advice, vocal advice you could share with someone who's possibly listening that wants to cross genres?
Get a teacher. who knows how to do it.
I was expecting something else, but okay, that sounds good.
Get
Well,
a
so you
teacher
teach.
who knows how to do it. Not someone who says, "Oh yeah, I could teach you a jazz song," because learning a jazz song doesn't make you a jazz singer. Just like me learning a classical aria doesn't make me a classical singer. But if your goal is to switch and be able to function, your voice to function in that repertoire, you need someone who can tell you how that works structurally, the pedagogy part, the scientific part. Your vocal apparatus, if it's broken or it gets fixed, it's not like taking a saxophone and getting a key fixed or getting a new reed. They have not yet been able to change and fix vocal problems. If it's broken, you can fix it, but you can never get a surgery to like repair it, and then it'll never come back.
Oh my goodness!
You have to learn.
Just imagine that.
Yeah, you have to learn how to go through vocal therapy, blah blah blah. So it's a lot to learn and a lot to know. Get a teacher.
Yeah, I was gonna say get a teacher. That's it. Oh, but you teach. You teach. Not only do you teach at North Carolina Central, but you teach privately, and now we're online. So I think you teach summer vocal courses.
I do.
And that's starting soon because summer's right around the corner.
Summer's here.
It's
well,
here.
I have a website, lenorahelm.online, and from it I teach a lot of things online. I'm now teaching a course to teach other teachers and businesses how to move their work online. We have to. I think the pandemic has shown us that, hey, you can't sit still or have just one portal.
Yep.
But I think for me, I really believe artists thrive when they work from a place of servant leadership. And they have to look at all of the things that they do as products and services, but what's the why? Like, why does that matter to you? And so for me, I want artists to know their value, how important the work that they do is. Teaching is a very special privilege. It's kind of like the next layer above performing, and it's always thought of in the opposite direction. The axiom, those who teach don't know, which is foolish, because you absolutely can't teach something you don't know anything about. To a theoretical sense, you can teach on the book side of it, but the practical part of it, it'll start to fall apart as soon as they hear you try to perform what you profess that you're teaching them. So I've learned that. I used to kind of frown upon teaching, and be upset that I didn't have the performance work. And I learned that from some of my mentors, Andrew Hill, long conversations with Stanley Cowell and Andrew Hill about being a performing musician and being a teacher, what that balance is and what that role is. And Ellis Marsalis, Mr. Marsalis, also helped me to understand something that I was really struggling with about what's my role, how to develop, how to learn, Mr. Jimmy Heath. All of those elders have and had a way for me to understand what I was doing in a place to get over myself.
Yeah. Wow.
And really learn the tradition, and each student is a different whole universe. So
we are all interconnected but individualized at the same time. And that's why you are the quarter finalist for Grammy Music Educator for the Year Award. I salute my hat off to you. So you're educating, teaching, performing, making music, and I'm in awe. Thank you so much for leading the way. And you know what? I'm going to play one more song before we get to the top of the set. We have with us the song Just You, Just Me. Let's play that.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds good?
Okay.
Do you have anything to set up with this?
Just You, Just Me. It's one of those fun songs. It's I loved listening to Mogra Miller on it. But it's a standard in the repertoire, and it was fun to do it.
Well, let's play some fun music, you all. You're listening to 90.7 WNCU. WNCU Cares Artist Series with Lenora Helm Hammonds.
Just you, just me. Let's find a cozy spot to cuddle and coo. Just us, just we. I've missed an awful lot. My trouble is you. Oh, gee, wonderful you. Just you, just me. Let's find a cozy spot to cuddle and coo. Just us, just we. I've missed an awful lot, my trouble is you. Oh gee, what are my charms for? What are your arms for? Use your imagination. Just you, just me. I've missed an awful lot, my trouble is you. Just me. Let's find a cozy spot to cuddle and coo. Just us, just we. I've missed an awful lot, my trouble is you. Oh gee, what are your arms for? What are my charms for? Use your imagination. Just you, just me. I'll tie a lover's knot round wonderful you.
One way to help us bring you music in today's uncertain world is by donating a vehicle you no longer need. Running or not, we'll arrange to have it picked up, sold, and get top dollar for it. Learn more at WNCU.org.
The Afternoon Jazz Show airs Monday through Friday from 3 to 7 p.m. with DL. Listen as I bring you a mix of mainstream jazz, Latin jazz, and even a little traditional R&B. While we're riding home together, you can enjoy the sounds of artists like Cecile McLaurin-Salvant, Miles Davis, Branford Marsalis, and Dee Dee Bridgewater, to name a few. So whether you enjoy bop or ballads, Afternoon Jazz has something for you. That's the Afternoon Jazz Show, weekdays from 3 to 7 p.m. on 90.7.
that we take. Just dig into the groove and you will feel deep in your bones, sweet tones. And all of a sudden you will find there is rhythm at the source of all things. The truth in your art, the beat in your heart. The world around is dancing to the music of our minds. Our bodies are coming to life with every step that we take. Just let the spirit move you and all doubts will disappear. No fear, 'cause all of a sudden you will see there is rhythm at the source of all things. To make your life whole and lift up your soul. Oh yeah. The rhythm is calling you to ride on high. On high. To seek for the truth and find the reason why. But why? You live in a body that can tell no lie. So make a move, don't be late. Feel the groove, just don't wait. Music will speak to you through the power of that never-ending beat that is the pulse of our souls. Let go of all of your fears. Rejoice and dry all your tears. Don't be afraid to be free. Inverse reality. Rhythm is the force that drives your love and makes you feel the strength of your heart. The music is the motion of the universe and time. It's moving and flowing along with every step that we take. Just dig into the groove and you will feel deep in your bones, sweet tones. And all of a sudden you will find there is rhythm at the source of all things. The truth in your heart, the beat in your heart. The world around is dancing to the music of our minds. Our bodies are coming to life with every step that we take. Just let the spirit move you and all doubts will disappear. No fear, 'cause all of a sudden you will see there is rhythm at the source of all things. To make your life whole and lift your soul.
Welcome back to the second hour of WNCU Cares Artist Series on Jazz Stage at member-supported radio 90.7 WNCU. You're listening to our guest today, Lenora Zenzalai Helm Hammonds, in the studio. And you just heard her arrangement of Rhythm is Life, and that's by the Vocal Jazz Ensemble at North Carolina Central University. I am alum from this school, and I'm happy to hear this. So tell me about this song. And
well, this is on the North Carolina Central University's Vocal Jazz Ensemble record called Take Note, and it's a tribute to Mr. Jimmy Heath. And we miss him. He is the mentor of our director, Dr. Ira Wiggins, and he spent a lot of time. He's been to our university several times, Mr. Heath, to mentor the students and to continue to be one of the elders that influenced the way that everyone teaches there and the central vision that Dr. Wiggins continues to impart for us. So there was never really a vocal tribute to him, and I thought, we really should make a vocal tribute to Mr. Heath. So we took several of his songs that he did a recording with a vocalist, Roberta Gambarini, and she wrote lyrics to some of his songs. And so we took that recording, and then we arranged it for maybe 17 voices. By that time, I had a really big group.
17.
Whew, that was a big group.
So
Usually you have like 8, maybe 12 on the high end of a vocal jazz ensemble. Just the nature of the way the music is arranged. It's a little different from arranging for a big band or for horns. You have to really take into account the way voices sound in different timbres and registers. Even though they may be in the same place and location on the staff in the music, the sound is different. Like a soprano voice is different from a soprano horn, even though they can do some of the same things. So myself and the other vocal faculty person who was an alum, Maurice Myers, we worked on the arrangements. And so this particular song featured a young lady who graduated now. Jaleesa Adams was our soloist on that. And it was fun. It was a fun recording, and you can't go wrong with Mr. Heath's music. He's just a consummate musician and composer, and it was a lot of fun to do that arrangement.
Nice. And so you sent the music to him, and he heard the song, and then you played it for him?
Yes, he came for a concert after we had recorded the record. We'd send the record, and I'd talk to him all the way through the process because he'd send us the music, and I'd call him and ask him a lot of questions. And then I would send him like versions of it in rehearsal. He's like, well, no, that's a little difficult. Y'all are not quite getting it yet.
Nice.
He was very frank about it.
Straightforward.
Because a lot of crunchy, very close notes. And so it was great to have his guidance and his openness to it. And he was just tickled pink to hear his music in a vocal ensemble setting.
He had never heard that before?
No.
Wow.
He said he had heard some people do it, but the way that he wanted to hear it, he, really gave us some great compliments.
I love it. Well, rest in power, Mr. Heath.
Yes.
For sure. Well, I want to get, now that we're getting to the big band scene, you've created this big band album, and I'm excited. I've been waiting impatiently to play it, but For the Love of Big Band.
Yes.
9 years since your last recording hit the charts, you returned to the recording industry with For the Love of Big Band, and it's featuring the Tribe Jazz Orchestra, which I had a part in. Thank you so much for calling me for that.
Are you kidding? You're part of the Tribe.
It was fun, and I appreciate it. So it's a unique approach to the music of the big band tradition. But without further ado, and let's play a song. The first song we're going to play is Blues for Mama. So tell me about Blues for Mama. Who is Mama?
Well, this is a Nina Simone composition. And I really have a kindredness to Nina Simone. For a lot of her music and her lyrics are just so much about how I feel the women in my family were and are. Just right to the point about everything, a demanding excellence, in the things that you do. And just like, a real soulful African woman, black woman, classical pianist, classically trained, but just someone who left a really important legacy in the music. And this particular lyric, I imagine all my aunties and women in my family sitting on the porch watching some woman go by, and they're gossiping about her, talking about what she did and what ain't going on and all this, that, and the other. So I wanted to create that feeling, in the delivery of it all. And the big band speaks for itself. We can talk about them. And we had a guest conductor who's just wonderful. Love him to life. Brian Horton.
Yes.
Saxophonist Brian Horton is leading the band in this selection, on all these selections. So this was this is an amazing new chapter.
Okay.
So,
well, let's get this new chapter in here now. You're listening to Member-Supported Radio 90.7 WNCU Cares Artist Series. We're about to hear Blues for Mama.
Hey, Lottie Mama, I Heard you wasn't feeling good. You're spreading dirty rumors around the neighborhood. They say you're mean and evil, don't know what to do. That's the reason that it's gone and left you black and blue. Hey, Lordy, mama, what you gonna do? They say he's left you all alone to weather this old storm. And he's got another woman now hanging on his arm. That old fool's telling everybody that he's sick and tired of you. Hey, Lordy, Lordy, mama, what you gonna do? Hey, gal, tell me what you gonna do. They say you love to fuss and fight and bring a good man down, and you don't know how to treat him when it takes you on the town. They say you ain't behind him and you just don't understand, and think that you're a woman but acting like a man. Hey, Lordy, Lordy, mama, what you gonna do? Get your nerves together, baby, and set the record straight, set it straight. Let the whole damn world know it's not you that caused this bit of fate. All these years you've loved him, he knows that it's true. 'Cause what you're wanting for your man, you know that he's wanting to. Yeah. Hey, girl, tell me what you're gonna do. Tell me what you're gonna do.
90.7 WNCU. Wow. They brought the fire. Who brought the fire? The Tribe Jazz Orchestra. You're listening to Member Supported Radio 90.7 WNCU. WNCU Cares Artist Series with Lenora Zenzalai Helm Hammonds in the studio, sharing her next, or this is her project, For the Love of Big Man. And she had some really key players on this album. And key players on this track, last track you heard was Blues for Mama, a Nina Simone song. And who did you have on here?
Oh, arranged by Brian Horton, saxophonist, composer Brian Horton. And the trumpeter was Zoe Smith on the solo part there, and James Gates on alto sax.
Mm-hmm.
So our rhythms is the big band, like 20 folks.
20.
But the big band is Ed Palantonia was on piano, Baron Timus on guitar, Amin Salim, Roy Hargrove's bassist, and Dorian Dotson was on drums.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I could tell you all the big band players too.
I don't know.
As we go along.
As we go along.
Yeah. Wonderful folks. A lot of them, I wanted that North Carolinian sound. To be front and center, because a lot of people don't know what the secret down here.
Can we tell them the secret?
Yeah, the secret.
What's the
a lot
secret?
of those folks came out of the sound of the big band training that they got from Dr. Ira Wiggins at NCCU Jazz Studies.
Very true.
And the soul and the swing and the blues, the gospel. A lot of the young people who come to the school, who come from the area, there's a tradition and they cleave to that sound of the blues and church. Mm-hmm. So swing is like, hey, if you're not swinging, we ain't trying to really hear you. Yeah. And so that's what I think was captured on the record in a really beautiful way. The sound of a big band. I feel like I'm a kid in a candy store, Mm-hmm. I feel like I have the best of all worlds. At any point, I could have a trio or a quartet or a quintet, within the arrangement,
Mm-hmm.
You could have a lot of different textures and a lot of power, a lot of fun, a lot of soul, a lot of groove.
Yes.
It's everything. It's everything.
It's the because you have the spirituals and the blues, and then the jazz is birthed out of that, and a combination of that is a sweet deal. I want to play more of this album. Another Nina Simone song that you have, Mississippi God.
Yes,
Dang.
ma'am, because we need that song right now.
We need it.
If I open my phone, my news another time.
Yeah.
So, these are poignant lyrics. I mean, they are relevant right now, this moment.
Well, let's without further ado, let's get to playing Mississippi Goddamn. And this song, why did you choose? You chose this for the album, and did you choose it specifically for a certain emotion that you were trying to project? Yeah,
I mean, I had never heard a big band version of this song, and it's powerful. The words and the sentiment behind it when Nina Simone wrote it as a civil rights anthem, after the bombings in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a woman pianist, arranger, Lydia Celette Dudley, arranged this piece and is playing on it. So I wanted to come full circle with that. One of the important parts of the record was making sure that a lot of different voices could be heard.
Sounds great. Well, without further ado, here is Mississippi Goddamn.
The last two, really? Okay. Lydia Celette Dudley wrote this arrangement. And of course, Dr. Brian Horton also worked on it with her. And she didn't want to do it. I kind of suggested strongly, come on, Lydia, do this arrangement. So Lydia was one of the gals, and we all went up together to Tryon, North Carolina, to honor Nina Simone. But Lydia Celette Dudley has her own group and performs all over the Triangle. Have you seen her? Lovely voice, lovely pianist. So we welcome her to the stage with a big round of applause. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate you being here and supporting this project. It was a big dream to work with a big band. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. Everybody knows about Mississippi. Alabama's got me so upset. Ferguson made me lose my rest. Everybody knows about Mississippi. Can't you see it? I know you can feel it. It's all in the air. I can't stand the pressure much longer. Somebody say a prayer. Alabama's got me so upset. Sandy Hook made me lose my rest. And everybody knows about Mississippi. So this is a song that we want you to know. Hound dogs on my trail, school children sitting in jail, black cat across my path. I think every day is gonna be my last. Lord have mercy on this land of mine. We're all gonna get it in due time. But don't belong here, I don't belong there. I've even started believing in prayer. Don't tell me, I'll tell you. Me and my people just about do. I've been there, so I know. They keep on saying, go slow. That's just the trouble. Too slow. Washing the windows. Too slow. Picking your cotton. Too slow. You're just plain rotten. Too slow. You're too damn lazy. Too slow. Your thinking's crazy. Too slow. Where am I going? What am I doing? I don't know. Just try to do your very best. Stand up and count it with all the rest. Everybody knows about Mississippi. Picket lines, school boycotts. They try to say it's a socialist plot. All I need is equality for my sister, my brother, my people and me. Yes, you lied to me all these years. You told me to wash and clean my ears and talk real fine, just like a lady. And you'd stop calling me Sister Sadie. Oh, but this whole country is full of lies. You're all gonna die and die like flies. I don't trust anybody anymore. You keep on saying, go slow. But that's just the trouble. Too slow. Desegregation. Too slow. Mass incarceration. Too slow. Immigration. Marriage equality, police brutality. Why don't you see it? Why don't you know it? I don't know. You don't have to live next to me. Just give me my equality. Everybody knows about Mississippi. Everybody knows about Charlottesville. Everybody knows about Mississippi.
90.7 WNCU, Mississippi, God and You Fill in the Blank. And that was an arrangement by Lydia Salette, directed by Lenora Zenzalai Helm Hammonds, and that's off of her album For the Love of Big Band, a Nina Simone original that's about the times in which we're living in. And I'm appreciative that you've done that. You've written a song and you've put something out there that the people nowadays can hear it and relate to, because it's definitely happening. I mean, just as last week or just as yesterday. So thank you so much. Like you said before, an artist has that responsibility.
We have that sacred duty. We are the megaphone for life. And we have to speak it and perform it and not be afraid to tell the truth. Or we disrespect our audience and we disrespect the gift that it is for us to be that megaphone. Nina Simone's words are perfect. Yeah, that was Lydia Celette Dudley's arrangement. Of course, we heard Brian Miller on tenor saxophone.
Yes, we did.
Like, you can't mistake that sound, right?
You cannot.
And Lydia played piano, and Janae Kuhn was on acoustic bass, another woman instrumentalist in the
Bassist.
band.
Yes.
Thomas Taylor was on drums, and Baron Timus on guitar, my brothers, my musical brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we had a lot of fun with that. We felt like people were like, y'all sound like a rock band. On that last song, because it was a live, performance. So at Hayti Heritage Center, it was recorded live.
So they didn't hear Nina Simone's version. If they, you're sounding like a rock band.
No, they just mean in the energy, because it was like
energy.
on fire.
Yeah.
Like being in that small space
Yes.
and that big band sound. On that particular song, it was like being in a rock concert.
Wow.
It was so loud.
Electrifying.
I loved every minute of it.
Sounds good. I
Thank
know
you.
that you're I'm sorry. You're paying homage to all the greats, and you said you try to get Duke Ellington on all of your tracks, on all of your CDs.
Yes.
And so you have another one on For the Love of Big Band.
Yes. Everything But You is a Duke Ellington, Harry James composition. And it's arranged by another NCCU alum, Aaron Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun. And we're going to hear Robert Trowers soloing on trombone. And again, we'll have the same rhythm section from the last recording, except we'll have Ed Palantonio on the piano chair.
Sounds great. All right, let's get to the music here at 90.7 WNCU.
You left me a horse from Texas, a house with installments due, a letter with lots of X's, everything but you. You left me some beans from Boston, a bicycle built for two, a memory to get lost in, everything but you. Each day is so gay and so daring, I loved every breathtaking minute, but how would I know I was sharing a kiss without a future in it? You gave me a dream to room with, a coffee pot from Peru, a knife and a fork to spoon with, everything but you. Each day was so gay, so daring, I loved every breathtaking minute, for how could I know I was sharing a kiss without a future in it? You left me a dream to room with, a coffee pot from Peru, a knife and a fork to spoon with everything but you. Everything. You gave me everything. Wait out. Everything
90.7 WNCU member-supported radio, having a great time in the studio with Lenora Helm Zenzalai. I said it wrong. You know what? I keep on
that
saying,
name is like, it really trips people up.
Tell me about it.
Okay, I was named after my grandmother, Lenora. So we got that out of the way, right?
All right.
And for the 6 albums before this album, I recorded as Lenora Zenzalai Helm.
Okay.
Right. Zenzalai, like the middle syllable is Zenzalai. Because people go Zenzalai or Zenzali or Zenzalai.
They do,
right?
they do.
And then Helm, right, is my family name.
Mm-hmm.
So for 6 years, that's how I recorded. Now, I got married recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't, like, come out and say, oh, now I'm recording as Lenora Helm Hammonds, because people wouldn't know of the others, right?
Yeah.
The previous. So I had to honor my previous relationship with my audience.
For sure.
Right. So when I record and perform, I'm Lenora Zenzalai Helm.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
Very clear.
Very
so I
clear.
just like people that kind of get me, you know. And then when in my educator hat, then I can be Lenora Helm Hammonds.
Yes.
You know, in a couple of
Professor.
months I'll be Dr. Hammonds.
Ooh,
Woo!
so nice.
Lord Jesus, pray for me.
Pray.
So, yeah, that's how it is. So just call me Lenora. That's all good.
How about Queen's sister? So tell me, does Zenzalai have a actual name? What does it mean?
It's a Zimbabwe. It comes from Zimbabwe. It's a Zulu, from the Zulu language. You can pronounce it in that language, Zenzalai, but I pronounce it Zenzalai. But it really means a child of the spirit, or she does it herself.
Oh, you spoke that one into existence. I mean, that speaks for who you are.
Thank you.
Very nice indeed. You all were listening to, the last song that you were listening to was a Duke Ellington arrangement, and it was written by Duke Ellington. You have J. Haynes. I'm all over the place today. H. James. So tell me, why did you choose this song for this album?
Well, Everything But You is one of those Duke Ellington standards that not a lot of people do or know, and I wanted to include it because of that. You know, I love doing the standards, but I like to pick things that aren't so like everyone has done them, you know. What's the joke? How many singers does it take to sing Misty? Apparently all of them.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
wow.
but Everything But You is a nice little ditty, and I first learned it from Sarah Vaughan, who was probably one of my biggest vocal influences. I played so many, my Sarah Vaughan records when I was in Berkeley. My roommate in Berkeley threatened to throw my Sarah Vaughan records away if I played another one.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, that's where that came from. It's fun. And it's fun as a big band piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was bouncy. So Sarah Vaughan, so she's like the mainstay of vocalist in your life. Not Ella Fitzgerald?
Yeah, you know, see, we were talking about that, right? And it's funny because everybody has their particular vocalist they like. Like, I love Ella Fitzgerald. She is an influence in another way for me in terms of the language. She put that bebop language, her and John Hendricks, in vocal jazz. And before that, though, Ella Fitzgerald's audience was a big swing audience. You know, that was like her legacy and is her legacy. But in the Carnegie Hall concert in 1949, maybe, Dizzy Gillespie credits Ella Fitzgerald as helping to bridge the gap between swing music for the audience and bebop music through How High the Moon, because in How High the Moon, the first part of that is a swing record. You know, it's a swing tempo, swing feel, and they double time the same composition into bebop feel and tempo. And it helped people kind of understand and hear and make that and say, oh, okay, kind of to understand and like, how do we migrate from swing to bebop? Because there was this tension between swing musicians and bebop musicians that was, written about by the critics and the audiences. The musicians felt like it teared the music apart, like it changed the way audiences listen. Like bebop was smaller bands, and that happened as a result of a lot of things, economic and socially, the war. A lot of the musicians in the big bands in the swing era had to go away in the war, right? So World War II. So we had this change, a lot of a change that happened in the music, but the musicians would fight. Ellis Marsalis talked about that. Mr.
Literal
Marsalis
fist
talked
fights?
about fist fights about it, about their, just like we fight today on whose music is it.
Yeah.
They would fight about, man, you're taking people's livelihood away. You've changed the music. Now you've messed up the audiences, kind of was the thought process about it. And I remember a story that Max Roach recounted about there was a writer, Stanley Crouch, out of New York, and he came to a gig at Vanguard that Max Roach and his band was playing. And when he saw Stanley Crouch, he was yelling at him like, dude, we have families we're trying to feed, you writing this crap out here, messing with the music, messing with people's minds, So people were, married to what they like, just like now.
Yes.
People like what they like. They have an opinion about what the music, where it came from, where it is, where it's going, who owns it. It's like asking who owns the sky. It's black music. I mean, it comes from the African diaspora, so miss me with that foolishness about it's not black music, right? And so that's number one. So anyway, I digress. Ella Fitzgerald has an important legacy, but Sarah Vaughan, for me, is a musician's musician. And the way she used her instrument was something that I endeavored to reach one day. Beautiful voice and just the musicality that you can't beat. So that's the story behind that song. But what do you want to play next?
Well, I want to take a little, a detour, because I would like to hear the Ella Fitzgerald How High the Moon version. This is from her Mac the Knife album. Hopefully it's in Ella in Berlin.
Okay.
So let's see if she's bridging the gap, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think she will, of course. And you're listening to Member Supported Radio.
Beautiful.
90. Yes, 90.7 WNCU.
Thank you. All right. Somewhere there's music, how faint the tune. Somewhere there's heaven, how high the moon. There is no love when love is far away too, till it comes true that you love me as I love you. Somewhere there's heaven, it's where you are. Somewhere there's music, how near, how far. The darkest night would shine if you would come to me soon. Until you will, I still my heart, I hide the moon. I hide the moon, it's the name of the song. I hide the moon, though the words may be wrong. We're singing it because you asked for it, so we're swinging it just for you. How high the moon, does it touch the stars? How high the moon, does it reach up to Mars? Though the words may be wrong to the song, we're asking how high, 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 high is the moon. Ooh, beauty, 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 ooh, beauty, 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 doc, 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 over there, oh, beauty, beauty, oh, boy, baba, baby, baba, baby, how do they, baba, baba, dee, 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 ba, oh, beauty, 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 da, 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 ya, oh, baby, baby, oh, dee, 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 ba, dee, 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 Baba you double bear. And dun 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 do 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 ya. Who you do 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 play bop. Who you do bop do 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 dun do do. Who you do 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 da. Who you do 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 da. Baba you double bear. I do 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 do. If you do 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 bop, you do 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 da. Be do 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 bop be. Boom do do boy. Do 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 do. Be bobby do 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 do. Oh, you do do bobby bobby bop. Though the words may be wrong to the song, we all like high 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 high. We do 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 do. What do you do do da? Do 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 do.
And sorry to cut into this wonderful music that you're listening to. Ella Fitzgerald, How High the Moon, off of her album Mac the Knife, Ella in Berlin. And, you know, she bridges the gap for sure.
Yes. Oh, man. I got a chance to hear her live in Boston. And it was amazing to watch her just in person sing, the intensity, you know. But she, you know, at that point in her life, she was, you know, ill from diabetes, and she fell in the middle of the performance. Like her leg gave out from up under her, and she plopped right down to the ground. Wow. Her dress, you know, blossomed right around her like there's little Miss Muffet sitting on the tuffet, and she didn't miss a beat. She kept singing. Amazing. Blazing through that music. I was like, wow. I'll never forget that moment.
So the lesson is the show must go on.
The show must go on, and she was swinging.
Swinging. I could just imagine the Savoy Ballroom dancers lifted in the air, dancing around, twirling around, being swung through their legs. Man, it's just amazing music.
Yes.
But Sarah Vaughan was your lady of choice. So,
but I learned to love Ella and respect her. Because you heard what that was, right?
Yes, and I believe our listeners did as well. Well, this is another song from the album For the Love of Big Band. This is Bebop. So tell us about this one before we play.
Oh, Joey Calderazzo is the guest on this one, playing piano. And Bebop is a Dizzy Gillespie tune, you know, apropos, right? We're coming out of the story about Ella and Dizzy. It's his song, but the lyrics are from another vocalist, Deborah Brown, and I called her and said, I want to use your lyrics. You know, did you name, usually when you record a song that didn't have lyrics in its original form and you add a lyric, you have to rename it. She says, no, I just left it like it was. Oh. You know, so, yeah, it's a great honor that she did.
Nice.
But, yeah, this is Bebop.
All right. Well,
and let's see who's the soloist on Bebop. I don't want to miss that. So, yeah, we have Shana Ryan Martin. Oh, no, let's see. Yeah, she plays a solo on it. Shana Ryan Martin, Joey Calderazzo. Yep. Yeah, shout out to Shana. Lynn Grissett on trumpet, Kobe Watkins on drums, and Baron Timus Amin Salim is on bass, Baron Time is on guitar, and it's arranged by Cecil Bridgewater.
Well, let's hear bebop in the fashion of the big band. For the love of big band, here at member-supported radio 90.7 WNCU.
This is fun. This is by Dizzy Gillespie. Do you know who that is? Trumpet player. No longer with us, but an elder that was one of the architects of bebop. And this song is called that. Hey! Look who snuck on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, on my record. It's like Stevie Wonder said, right? Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Calderazzo.
They do change the blues playing bebop. Spread it around, it's a new kind of saying the bebop. We're not avant-garde, but we go through this world playing bebop. I don't have to ask, don't be scared, you can start singing bebop.
Listen to the rhythm that we play and what the music's got to say. Music, what is the leader that we change to and play? What'll it be today? Dizzy may just be the best place to be Bob Gillespie. Bird is the word, don't forget when you're playing bebop.
it's the do change the blues playing bebop. I spread it around, it's a new kind of saying, it's bebop. I'm not avant-garde, but we go through this world playing bebop. I don't have to ask, don't be scared, you can start singing bebop. Listen to the rhythm that we play and what the music's gotta say. Music, what is the meter that we change to and play? What will it be today? Dizzy may just be the best place to bebop Gillespie. A bird is the word, don't forget what you heard playing bebop.
The music of Dizzy Gillespie, played by Lenora, sung by Lenora Zenzalai Helm. That was Bebop, and it's our time. Thank you so much for being in the station.
Oh my God, it went so fast.
It did. It did.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to have the music heard and to share. You know, it's a gift. We're going through a pandemic. We're not all we're all in the same storm, but not in the same boat.
Yeah.
So many people need the music right now. Thank you.
Well, you are definitely providing that outlet. So hopefully the listeners are listening and you will go and support Lenora Helm at lenorahelm.com. For certain, she is in the community, and thank you so much for being a part of WNCU Cares Artist Series. I appreciate you.
My honor.
Yes.
My honor.
Well, we're going to leave you with the last song, Dear Lord, a conversation with God. I think it's perfect for this time, and I just want to let the music speak for itself. So thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to listen to DL after the show, Afternoon Jazz with DL, up next at 90.7 WNCU.
Just tell me, why do I have to face this heartache and struggle? Surely you'll have all the answers. So tell me just what I should do about it, and I will tell you. Tell me again what is missing from this life I've given you, so carefully planned with love. I've given you sun, trees, and the earth, the grand canyon that one does not.
This is Branford Marcellus, and I listen to jazz on WNCU Durham and online at WNCU.FM.